What improved your quality of life so much? You wish you did it sooner. Story 1. Apologizing rather than being stubborn. I've struggled with anger management since I was a child, and I've learned it's much easier to apologize than to ruin/damage relationships. Story 2. Decent mattress. Holy fuck. I had no idea how much better life is when you get a decent night's sleep and not wake up stiff and sore. I had low back pain for years that is now completely cleared up. I feel 10 years younger. Story 3. I started sleeping 8 hours a day and life is so better now. I feel calm, relaxed, and just healthy overall. And by the way, guys, I'm going to advise you guys to watch your sleep schedule too. It really will make you feel better. Story 4. I stopped caring about what people thought about me if I said no. I used to feel a lot of pressure to go out, to help people out, etc., and finally realized that when the shoe was on the other foot, people had no issue saying no to me. It took a huge weight off my shoulders. Story 5. A Roomba I found at Goodwill. I am so confused why nobody is raving about their Roomba, and I realize most people with one that I know have money. My Roomba has saved me so much maintenance time as a single, full-time working parent. I cannot explain how grateful I am for it. My cat and daughter always end up having little specks around the house, and I have to do a full vacuum sweep every weekend. Turning the Roomba on every day has drastically reduced that and makes my house feel cleaner. Story 6. After a huge breakup, I realized that I have only myself and no one on this earth. Someone can, of course, help you and talk to you. But at the end of a day, you're alone in your bed, and those people are living for themselves, so trust yourself, love yourself, and be yourself. You are irreplaceable. Story 7. Going to bed at 10 p.m. rather than 11:30 p.m., reducing carb intake, lifting weights a few times per week, going for a walk every day, reading The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, taking cold showers, learning or practicing new skills every day. Story 8. A breast reduction, 100%. I always had enormous breasts, think like double GG, and I have a petite frame. I spent my younger life being sexualized too early by men who saw my big breasts as an invitation, embarrassed in swimsuits and tank tops. They were uncomfortable and so heavy and hot. They gave me heat rashes and bruises and pain in my shoulders. I felt like they were the first thing anyone saw about me. After a good friend of mine passed away from sepsis, it woke me up, and I thought literally, what am I waiting for? My insurance covered the surgery and it was intense and hard, but I never regretted it for a second. I wish I could go back and tell my 22-year-old self to get it done instead of waiting until I was 35. The biggest blessing in the world is not noticing my breasts on a daily basis. I am free. Story 9. Letting people help me. I used to always think that people in my life would love me more if I never really let them in, especially when I was struggling. I got to a pretty dark place because I didn't want to be a burden to anyone else. I was suicidal. I thought that nothing could make my life worth living. It got so bad I couldn't hide it anymore. I got better because I stopped isolating myself and I let the people who care about me in. I let them help me, listen to me, and be there for me. Leaning on those who are close to you is the best thing you can do. Being vulnerable is hard and sometimes it hurts, but it's also necessary in order to create meaningful relationships with others. I think that is one of the most important things we can do in life. I'm so grateful for my friends. Story 10. Giving myself an hour in the morning to get ready as opposed to straight out the door. Drink water in the evening, a ton, especially if I'm drinking alcohol. In fact, water all the time. Regularly hit the gym. Learn to cook. Switch to cycling and trains. Become my own boss. Story 11. For years, I would get really angry at other drivers for their behavior on the road. Cell phone use while driving chiefly, but also stuff like driving overly fast or overly slow or cutting me off in traffic or whatever. Used to get just enraged over it. Screaming, cussing, ranting to family coworkers after the fact. Just bad. Last fall, I had an epiphany. I'd been getting enraged like that for 20 years, and it never once had an effect on the other drivers. People still use their phones. They still go too fast or too slow. Basically, a large percentage of people drive like they shouldn't be behind the wheel of a vehicle. But my anger hasn't changed even a single person, and never will. So why am I letting this have an effect on me? It's a waste of energy. So now when I see that behavior, I try to remember that. Not saying I don't get angry, but I remind myself of the futility of the anger, and it helps. I can usually now blow off such behavior by muttering something along the lines of fucking asshole and going on with my day. That realization has been a major help in easing my stress and anger over the last several months. Story 12. Medication for ADHD. I can't believe how jarring it was to experience how everyone else functions. I was a girl in school in the late 80s, 90s, so ADHD didn't exist for girls. Even though both my brothers had it, I was instead opinionated, a wiggle worm, a daydreamer, speaks out of turn, reads in class. As an adult, I was anxious and depressed. Couldn't keep a job for more than 2.5 years. I was chained from one SSRI to another, stronger to another to another. I kept saying that each stronger med made me feel more irritable, more angry, more anxious. The answer was always, you must need a stronger one. When I advocated for ADHD testing and medication in my early/mid-30s, literally changed my life. I took myself off SSRI over 4 months and it was miserable. But I knew if I kept taking them, I'd end up in jail. They just caused more and more increasing rage. The first dose of ADHD meds made me shocked, sad, and excited all at once. Since then, my income has quadrupled, not a joke. I don't feel listless, fatigued, and blurry from 1-4 p.m. every day. I'm not depressed at all, whatsoever, unless I stop taking my infant-sized dose of Adderall, 10 mg, steady for 7 years, so I don't want to hear about Adderall addiction PLS, and thanks. I can do the boring, unrewarding tasks without a second thought. I don't have manic rebirths of my entire furniture layout, calendar, and schedule every few months as an attempt to strategize myself in a new, exciting productivity state. My goodness, so many issues mislabeled. Story 13 got off social media, will be leaving Reddit as well soon. I don't need to know everything that's happening around me or what's happening in the world at all times. In fact, I don't care to know. I deleted everything and my mental health was better within a week. My whole life was overall more productive and successful TBH. Story 14. Downsizing. Getting rid of the clutter around me. Instead of having duplicate and triplicate of everything, now I have one good one, whatever it is. I quit keeping all of the kindergarten art that my kids could care less about. I was unafraid to take loads and loads of stuff to the charity thrift or to the dumpster. I have one good set of pans, one good set of knives, one good pair of AirPods, etc. I should have done this 20 years ago. Story 15. Learning how to cook. I didn't really get into home cooking until my late 30s despite having a family of professional chefs and highly regarded home cooks, including my own father. I've reached a point in my personal cooking journey where I'm now creating my own dishes rather than finding recipes and making them, but that's a lot of fun, so I'll never stop doing that. Story 16. Realizing that once something has happened, it's just how it is. Instead of giving myself stress attacks by constantly thinking about how I could have done it better differently, I looked at the situation and think about what I can do from now on that'll help whatever the situation may be. Fucked up studying for an exam? Instead of moping around and complaining, take the next steps for the next exams. You can only take control of the future, not change what has already happened. I swear this took a load of stress off of my shoulders. Story 17. Working multiple part-time jobs instead of one full-time job. Although I loved my full-time job, I sometimes wanted to scream from having to sit in one place and do the same thing 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. Yes, I have ADHD. Now I do 4 jobs. My old office job around 2 or 3 days per month, remote freelance, 2 HRs, an unpredictable gig once or twice per month, 1-4 HR shifts, a restaurant job twice a week, 6 HR shifts, and a reception job 3 days a week, 4-5 HR shifts. Currently, no job exceeds 14 hours per week, but altogether I'm making nearly twice what I made at my full-time job while working fewer hours. I'm never bored, always stimulated, and my work is higher quality as a result. Plus, I have more time to work on my own projects and pursue my passions. Story 18. Honestly, not giving a F. It's not what you think. You still show up, train, work, perform, whatever you call it. But the less you struggle with trying to win, the most likely you are to win. I think Alan Watts talks about it in his own way. I recommend you give him a listen. Story 19. Quitting my job. Don't get me wrong. I need money and have other means to earn it through investments. But my day job dragged me down mentally to where I just couldn't do anything else on the days that I worked. Then my weekends were spent agonizing over the fact I would have to do it all again in a few days. Story 20. Letting go of my pride. I used to hold a mean grudge and was constantly full of anger. I realized the only person it was affecting was myself. I also enjoy and try to make the most out of my family time because you just never know when they'll be gone. I rather have many good memories than regrets. Story 21. Cold showers. You need to wake up quick and feel like Goku for a little while? Take a cold shower. You struggle with diagnosed depression like me? Cold shower releases a wave of dopamine and serotonin. Not a cure, but I really look forward to it every day. Want to learn a little bit about self-discipline or mental toughness? Step fully into that bad boy every morning at 6 a.m. and stand under it. Force yourself. Small steps. Hot day, cold shower. Want to reduce inflammation after a workout or injury but don't have a tub for an ice bath? Cold shower. Need to increase circulation? Cold shower. Strengthen your immune system by creating more white blood cells. Cold shower. Want to increase your metabolism? Well, it's a bit unclear if they really help you lose weight like some people say, but there's no debate that your body will go into overtime burning as much energy as possible to try to keep your core temperature up, and something about brown fat cells, blah, blah, blah. Now, I'm no scientist, and I know that some of these things are linked but unproven, but there is a ton of research being done on cold therapy, and it definitely has beneficial effects all over the body. Also, the placebo effect is a real thing, and if you really think it's going to help you, it can. Story 22. Recovery. I struggled with depression, eating disorders, and self-harm for 15 years. I tried recovering a few times, but it wasn't 100% effort. Finally, I got sick of hating everything. I was finally ready to recover. I put 110% into trying to solve my issues. I tried therapy, medication, oils, diets, working out, meditation, writing workshops, self-help books, CBD, etc. I tried everything. Eventually, I found what works for me and what doesn't. I went from full-time to part-time to focus on my mental health, and after 1.5 years, I was okay enough to know I'll be fine. Recovery isn't a straight road. I still have bad days and relapses, but I'm doing so much better, and it sucks I couldn't feel this good sooner. Story 23. Organize my fridge by putting the fruits and veggies in the door instead of in the crisper drawers. In the drawers, I ended up just shoving them in there, and eventually finding a big puddle of sludge with some half-edible fresher fruits on top. Lots of extra time was spent taking out the drawers and washing them in the sink. Having them in the door makes me look them in the eye and know exactly when they need to be thrown away because fruits and veggies aren't supposed to grow eyes. Story 24. Volunteered at a pet rescue. Then adopted a dog that was labeled unadoptable, aggression issues. I knew the aggression issues would be okay with me because I knew her. They were going to put her down, so I adopted. I love this dog like I have never loved anyone. She has enriched my life more than I can convey. I became a dog lover 20 years before I adopted her, and it was all the experience with many dogs that helped me understand her needs and triggers. Volunteer. The experience just happens. The right one will come along and they will choose you. Story 25. Remote work. If your job can be done or is done from a typical office or is primarily done online, it should be remote. It gave me so much time and money back. I have so much less anxiety and stress and get way more sleep and can eat healthier and don't have to risk my life driving to work and help save the environment. It made me happier and more productive at my job, too. 2. Hunting for my own food. So much healthier and cheaper to get my own food. And I know where it came from, how it ate, what it ate, how it lived, and how it was processed. I can't eat meat from a grocery store anymore. It grosses me out that I don't know anything about the animal I am eating, what quality of life it had, what was injected into it, or what hormone feed it was given to get big and fat. I feel much healthier and feel like I have more energy from the meat I get myself. If you can hunt your own food, or raise your own, you should. Story 26. Using the goddamn mobility aid. Ambulatory disabled people with mobility issues are under an absurd amount of social pressure from the abled people around us to never use a mobility aid, wheelchair, walking cane, crutches, frame, etc. They tell us that doing so means giving up, and we should fight to keep our mobility. But that attitude just causes us harm and perpetuates disableism. Mobility aids are not limiting. No one is confined to a wheelchair. They are our liberation. I can walk roughly twice as far with my walking cane as I can without it, even on a good day. With my wheelchair, I can spend my energy on enjoying my time with loved ones, on outings, etc., rather than having to be in severe pain and go home early because I'm utterly wrecked before I've been out even 3 hours. Ablids tell us that starting to use mobility aids is sad, tragic, something to be mourned. But in reality, it's something to be celebrated. We're choosing our health, well-being, and quality of life over the prejudiced opinions of others. Disability isn't sad. Roughly 1 in 4 people have a disability. It's common and normal. Ableism, disableism, and access barriers are sad and infuriating. They absolutely are something to be fought against. Most of us are far more disabled by the inaccessibility of our societies than we are by our actual disabilities. Story 27. I wish I had got a sleep apnea machine at 20 instead of 40. I can feel my memory is improving, so many lost years. I have no doubt I'd have been a better university student if I'd had this thing. Even as a skinny, wrangly teenager, I had friends and GFFs tell me I slept funny and would stop breathing. Story 28. This sound dumb, but getting loop earplugs, this sounds like an ad lem foul. I have sensitivity to loud noises, and loop earplugs just help so much. I get less overstimulated and overwhelmed now, which is great. I have loop engage and loop quiet, and I love them. They were kind of expensive, but it's worth it. Especially when you go to a boarding school and your dorm mates snore lol. Story 29. Get noise-canceling headphones and drop a decent amount on them for good quality ones. Commuting, grocery shopping, running errands, and gym is so much easier when you screen out the world. Plus, working with them on means you don't have to contend with trying to concentrate while your workmates talk shit about the football, their kids, their illnesses. Going retail shopping is much more bearable because you don't get bothered by retail assistants. Creepy people tend to also leave you alone more. Just be careful around traffic and running late at night, as you won't be completely aware of your surroundings. The best $500 I ever spent was on a pair of Bose 700S. 11/10 would recommend. Story 30. Something so cheap it is free. I quit giving a damn about what other people think. Now, I don't mean become an asshole because you don't care about others. What I mean is treat everyone with dignity and respect, but don't care about other people's opinions of you. Far too many people care about the opinions of anonymous people who they don't know and who don't really care about them. I am a registered nurse. When I was working on the evening shift on a psych unit, the day shift aides hated me and thought I was mean even though they didn't even work with me. It bothered me that they didn't like me. Keep in mind the aides I worked with closely loved me. They knew I would be the first to come running if they needed help. It bothered me that the day shift staff disliked me even though they had no reason to. But then I realized I didn't need to give a single fuck about what thoughts of people who didn't really know me. Story 31. Therapy. Specifically, CBT. Admittedly, the first time I tried it a few years ago, it didn't do much for me, but I didn't really go all in with it. Went in with a "this won't help" attitude. Last year, I tried again with a much more open mind because I really needed the help and put into practice the techniques and coping mechanisms, and I feel so much more at peace with myself and with my life, and the biggest thing for me is now looking forward to doing things instead of the fear of anxiety. Story 32. Been in my field for 23 years. From day one, I wanted to be a supervisor and then manager. Worked so hard for a few places with empty promises. At 48, I gave up that dream. I have no stress at my current job. I do my shit and go home. It's optional if I want to work overtime or answer the phone after hours. It's made my family life much more enjoyable. I worry about nothing. Wish I did this years sooner. Story 33. Abandoning perfectionism. While I am not old enough to have any life experience outside school, I expect this will carry forward in the future. I used to spend an exorbitant amount of time working to perfect, I don't mean make great, I mean perfect, everything, particularly schoolwork. This had a variety of effects on me. No sleep, 4 HRS, mental exhaustion, stress, inability to socialize, little to no time, many more that are less significant. Then I saw the warning signs. I was getting so tired and stressed that I could see myself going down a bad path mentally, but I still couldn't pinpoint the issue. The stress built on me for years. I started to see that I didn't have enough time go around for all my work and projects. When I turned 16, I got a summer job, 1 HR commute, and my driver's license. One day on my way to work, I fell asleep at the wheel from exhaustion. I woke up in the other lane faced towards a guardrail, and luckily I didn't crash. That event led me to say, fuck it, I need to figure this out. From the on, I started adjusting my priorities. It was not an easy task for me as perfection had been drilled into me from a young age, but eventually I broke my curse. I learned to accept a 93 on that assignment instead of a 99 considering the amount of time it saved. I made sure to get 6+ hours of sleep, preferably 8. I started socializing and expanded my group of friends, and finally got in a serious relationship. Since then, I have realized that my life has greatly improved since the point that I said, fuck this, I can't do it anymore, I feel great.